Alright guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be going over a new Huberman's protocol for building strength and power, explosive movements. If you're doing any sort of sport, this might be useful for you. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright guys, so here we are. We're going to be watching Andrew Huberman and going over what he says. I'll be giving my input over it, giving my ideas, what I believe might be right, wrong. Really, most of the stuff that this guy's going to say is right. He probably knows more than me in general about health and fitness. So when listening to this guy, but I'll be trying to explain it in a way where it's easier for you guys to understand, especially guys who are more new to lifting. But I feel like anyone can learn something from this video, or even more advanced lifters. So yeah, let's get into it.
Now, some of you may already be doing low repetition, pure strength work, but I believe that most people don't. Most people who do resistance training are using either machines or free weights or some combination of those, or perhaps are using body weight. And they tend to focus on repetition ranges from about 5 and usually more like 6 repetitions out to about 10 and perhaps 15 repetitions. Now, of course, doing resistance training in repetition ranges of 5 to 15 reps per set, provided it's done at sufficient intensity, so either to failure or close to failure,
which means you get bigger muscle size and muscle endurance.
Tremendously beneficial. It can help build strength. It can enhance hypertrophy. There is tremendous value to training in those repetition ranges. But when I sat down with Dr. Andy Galpin to discuss resistance training specifically, he made it very clear that at least for some portion of one's yearly training cycle, so perhaps 8 weeks or 10 weeks, or in the case that I adopted, 12 weeks, there is tremendous benefit to training in the 3 to 5 repetition range, and maybe even lower. So the second tool of training specifically for strength in this 3 to 5 repetition range is something that I started to incorporate after I sat down to record that series. And I'll just tell you a few of the benefits that I've experienced, and then I'll tell you the specific protocol that makes it very easy to do this. The most obvious benefit to me was that I got much stronger, and that strength persisted such that when I went back to using higher repetition ranges, so typically I train with weights or machines in the 6 to 10 repetition range, sometimes a little higher, sometimes a little lower, but never before had I specifically trained in the 3 to 5 repetition range exclusively for a period of 10 to 12 weeks. And when I did that, I, of course, gained strength. But that strength stayed with me such that when I returned to higher repetition ranges, I could use more weight in good form. And that, of course, enhanced strength and hypertrophy further.
Yeah, because now he has fast twitch muscle fibers that also work with,
at least to me, very unexpected, which was that my cardiovascular training improved significantly. Now, why would this be? Because typically a 3 to 5 repetition set does not elevate the heart rate for long enough that you would consider it cardiovascular training. And of course, the rest periods between those sets is pretty long as well. So even if heart rate goes up during those heavy sets, it's going to go down during those long 3 to 5 minute rest periods between those sets. But what I noticed was that my overall posture and my ability to maintain cardiovascular output while using good running form or good rowing form was also vastly improved. And the logical interpretation of why that would be is simply that the muscles got stronger, and those same muscles are being incorporated into the cardiovascular, let's call it endurance work that I'm doing on other days. And therefore I can carry out those cardiovascular
I feel like you get better
form for longer periods of
results.
time. I actually felt much stronger during my cardiovascular training,
more specified,
as I got much stronger moving these heavier weight loads for low repetition
sets. I don't think he's recommending that
and then
marathon
the third
runners
specific
now
benefit
start
that I
training at heavy weights
is that when training
for 3
heavy
to 5
for 3 to 5 repetitions per set, I didn't get sore. And this to me was an incredible benefit, because typically when I train in the 6 repetition to 15 repetition range and I take those sets to failure or near failure, I do experience some soreness the next day. Ordinarily, that soreness isn't so intense that it prevents me from doing any of the other sorts of workouts that I do. And for those of you that have visited that foundational fitness protocol, you know that I hit each major and minor muscle group once per week directly, as well as once per week indirectly. That's the overall structure of that program, in order to allow sufficient recovery between those resistance training workouts to be able to make continual progress. Now, by training in this 3 to 5 repetition range that Dr. Andy Galpin suggested, I was able to improve my strength, improve my cardiovascular output, reduce soreness,
This
also
is
just
also an
felt better
independent
overall. I had a lot
result,
more
so
energy after those workouts than I typically
I
do
wouldn't
after
recommend
my
it for
resistance
everyone
training sessions
to do it for
when I use higher repetition ranges.
improved
There's just a
cardiovascular,
number of different things
improve
that
their
made me
cardiovascular
feel,
function.
wow, this is really a powerful
Although
protocol.
I do feel
And of
like
course,
it
moving
would be
heavier weights in the
useful
gym feels
for
good too. It feels good to get stronger. At least there's a positive feedback loop there for me, and I think for most people.
it is good.
And I should also mention that for those of you that are averse to doing heavier resistance training in the 3 to 5 repetition range,
Get more
because
excited
you
lifting
fear that
heavy
it will make
weights.
you too big or too bulky, training in the low repetition ranges is actually more geared towards increasing strength and is shifting away somewhat from increasing hypertrophy,
which is
or
muscle size.
So that's a great benefit for those of you that want to be strong
Generally,
and
faster
also want to
muscle
maintain
fibers are
cardiovascular fitness,
smaller.
but you don't want to add muscular size. And of course, for all of you that want to add muscular size, it's well established that increasing your strength will allow you then to return to patterns of hypertrophy training that will allow you to use heavier weights and therefore induce greater hypertrophy.
Correct.
So there are so many reasons to incorporate these strength training protocols. So the way that Dr. Andy Galpin suggested one do it, and was the way that I did it, is to use this 3x5 protocol. The 3x5 protocol is very straightforward. It involves doing 3 to 5 exercises per workout. Okay, so if it's a workout for legs, it's 3 to 5 exercises. If it's a workout for some upper body muscle,
trying to handle all the
3 to 5
muscles.
exercises.
Hamstrings,
3 to 5
quads,
exercises for
calves.
3 to 5 sets per exercise, 3 to 5 repetitions per set, and 3 to 5 minutes of rest between each set. In addition, he emphasized that one can do those workouts 3 to 5 times per week, although I'm going to put an asterisk next to that last statement because I found that I couldn't do the
minimum,
3x5
so 3
protocol,
sets,
say for
3
legs
reps.
specifically, 3 to 5 times per week. I realize that might be possible.
You'd
for
be
some
spending
people, but
at
I'm
least
somebody
half an
who,
hour
like
training
many
if
of
you do
you
the
out there,
absolute minimum.
either doesn't have the time,
If you do the maximum,
or
you'd be
doesn't
spending
have the
2 hours
recovery
training.
capacity to train my
or
legs
more.
3 to 5 times per week. Even though I acknowledge that there are probably ways to do that that would still allow me to recover, it just simply starts to impede
that much time.
other areas of training. It starts to impede other areas of life like work and family and sleep and all the rest. So what I did, and what I'm suggesting you try, is for any existing resistance training that you're doing, to take a period of 8 or 10 or ideally 12 weeks and do the vast majority, if not all of that resistance training in the lower repetition range that's designed specifically to induce strength adaptations.
Yes.
And to not pay attention to whether
All
or
these
not you're
strength
hitting that
adaptations
same muscle group
come
3 to
from
5 times
neural
per week.
adaptations
Rather, if you train your
on
legs
top of the fast
once
twitch
or
muscle
twice per
fibers,
week,
so
to
your
simply
brain
do
gets
all
more
of the
connected to
work
your
for your
muscles,
legs in that 3 to 5
increases
repetition
reaction
range.
time.
If you train an upper body muscle or muscle groups, chest, shoulders, back, once per week or twice per week, to just stay within that 3 to 5 repetition range for those work sets, right? Warm-ups can include a few more reps. And then to adhere to this 3 to 5 exercises, 3 to 5 sets per exercise, 3 to 5 repetitions per set, and 3 to 5 minutes between sets. Now, the one exception to this that I incorporated was that for very small muscle groups, so for instance, the rear deltoids, or for neck work, or
Rear
for
delts,
calf
three
work,
delts.
to not
Or the
rely
smallest
purely
delts.
on 3 to 5 repetitions, but maybe to work in a range of anywhere from 5 to 8 repetitions. So still fairly low repetitions, but not so low that it restricts you to 3 to 5 repetitions. The reason for that is
It's very
that
difficult.
I, and I think a lot of people out there, find it hard to fatigue those smaller muscle groups adequately with good form when restricting oneself to those low repetitions. However, for big compound movements like presses and squats and deadlifts and glute ham raises and things of that sort, maybe even leg extensions and leg curls, which are isolation exercises, of course, to really restrict oneself to those 3 to 5 repetition ranges that take you to failure or near failure. I listed off the benefits of doing that I experienced, and I'm confident that you will also experience a lot of benefits. So just to remind you what some of those benefits are, you get stronger, which feels great.
Obvious.
That occurs within your weight workouts,
Due
but it
to
also
fast
carries
twitch
over
muscle
to
fibers.
endurance training sessions.
Remember, you have
I also
two brain
noticed
types,
that
fast
when
twitch and slow
returning
twitch.
to higher repetitions for resistance training,
Slow twitch increases endurance,
after 12
fast twitch
weeks
increases
shifting
strength.
away from 3 to 5 repetition ranges and going back to training in the 6 to 10
He maintained
repetition ranges mainly,
the fast twitch muscle
occasionally up
fibers
to
that
12
he
or
had
15,
built.
but really mainly
helped
restricting
him
to 6 to 10 repetitions.
Increase
That
heavier
you can move
with the weights.
much heavier weights in good form and thereby induce more hypertrophy while still also continuing to gain some strength. And another benefit was, again, reduce soreness compared to when training with higher repetition ranges.
I find that interesting because I feel like you'd have a higher chance of being injured, so I recommend you guys stretch before doing this protocol, but it might be, he's probably right,
you, but when I finish
like you'd have to stretch
really
before to make sure you don't get injured.
Resistance training session done in the 6 to 12 repetition range,
there's
a certain type of mental fatigue that even if I eat properly afterwards, even if I hydrate properly, that it tends to sap a bit of my mental energy later in the day. But that the training at the 3 to 5 repetition range did just the opposite. It actually enhanced my focus and my cognition, my overall levels of physical energy, which is great because it allows you to do all the other things that we're required to do throughout the day. And by the way, it'll also allow you to get more of that zone 2 cardio.
Very important. Cardio, 150 minutes a week to get optimal results from your cardio. That's what I recommend for everyone. Zone 2. Zone 2, I like to have a watch, a wrist monitor. I guess see, measures the type of heart rate that I'm on, and it gives me feedback and tells you what type of cardiovascular range or zone you're in. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. That's the end of the video for today. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys want to see next, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.